It's something that you can enjoy. You do it yourself. You're a pianist, and most of you are pianists, and that is a wonderful thing to have. And I want to tell you some of the good advantages maybe that you are embarking on that will help you in other areas of your life too. I was going to give you a little bit about my musical history, and I think you'll understand a little bit about your question when I tell you what happened to me. When I was in grade school, this man, we lived out in the country in Illinois. I mean, my dad was a farmer. So this man drove up to our back door and he said, "I have a piano for sale. Do you want a piano?" And I wanted a piano desperately. And so my mom got us in the car and we drove a mile or so down the dirt roads to where my dad was farming. We said, "Dad, there's a piano." So we got the piano. And then I started taking some lessons. I was probably 5th grade before I started taking lessons. And when I got into band, I played the cornet because my mom had an instrument. They had a cornet, so I started the cornet. And in high school, I went from cornet. I guess I wasn't any good there because the band director wanted me to play in the marching band, a trombone. Well, I didn't have any of this experience. So he had purchased a valve trombone. Looks like a trombone, plays like a euphonium. So he put me on euphonium then for the rest of the concert season. And I played the trombone for marching season. And I did pretty well with the euphonium. And if I'd had an instrument, when I came to Bob Jones, I would have majored in euphonium. But I didn't. And then it just seemed like not the thing to do to have to wrench a horn. Now I know better, but I think that's where the Lord led me into voice, because anybody can sing. Well, my teacher told me at my senior recital, and I kind of hurt my feelings at the time. She said, "Yeah, I remember at your audition, and you studied with me." And she said, "I thought this girl's not going to make it. This girl's not going to make it." So she felt really good about that, and I was, oh really? I was that bad? Anyway, then when I finished that, I went on for a master's degree in vocal performance, and now I'm teaching at Bob Jones, and I've been teaching at the university for at least 35 years now, and it's been a wonderful journey for me too. I love to look at interesting things. I spend way too much time on Facebook because these videos come up and all this. But some of them are useful. They really are. And one of them was talking about practicing and musicianship. And then I found something else I want to read to you a minute about music and how it affects your brains. The brain, when you're playing or singing or any kind of music things, there are so many different areas that are functioning in your brain. And it's more than many, many activities that you do. And I was thinking, how does that work? Well, if you think about it, it's just almost overwhelming. Because when you're playing the piano, what are you really doing? Well, you're reading several things. Your eyesight is working. Your tactical, your sense of touch is working. Your ear is working. Your brain is directing your fingers, all of them. You're keeping in mind the rhythm. You're reading the rhythm. You're observing the key signature, even though that's B, that's key of B flat. Oh, okay, and you remember that that's a key of B flat as you're playing. You're seeing these crescendo markings, so you get a little louder, and then it's a decrescendo. So all these things are happening at the same time. Then you got the pedal, so your foot's working too, and you go, wow, isn't it overwhelming to think how we were made? And then I was thinking about organ too, because my husband plays the organist, so he's got 2 feet that are doing that. And it's not just the feet working, but it's that he has to swivel on the bench even. So he's using parts of his bodies that you don't have to use as a pianist. You don't have to swivel on the piano thing. So it's all different, but it's firing up areas of your brain that don't get fired up at the same time in many activities that we do in our daily list. I could go on and on. You could also expostulate with me too about what other things are going on, because there's so many more. So why do we do this hard, tedious work? It is hard. It's not easy to develop a new skill, especially those of us that are adults. That comes really hard. And I just came across something recently. This woman, Laurel Trainer, I guess she's Laurel Trainer, she was studying, she's a director of the Institute for Music and the Mind at McMaster University in Ontario. Her research is with children, so I don't know how much goes into adulthood, but it indicates that musical training appears to modify the brain's auditory cortex. Can larger claims be made for the influence on the brain of musical training? Does training change thinking or cognition in general? Trainer says yes. Even a year or two of music training leads to enhanced levels of memory and attention when measured by the same type of tests that monitor electrical and magnetic impulses in the brain. And she says, we therefore hypothesize that musical training, but not necessarily passive listening to music, affects attention and memory, which provides a mechanism whereby musical training might lead to better learning across a number of domains. And then that was the end of her quote. But I thought that's food for thought anyway, to think that am I organizing my brain in such a way that it's going to affect my memory? And it's true, children memorize so quickly, but I don't do that anymore. It's really hard, and it's a repetition, just repeat and repeat and repeat, and I'm sure that you feel that too. As singers, we have to memorize, and the more I do of it, the easier it is. But when you stop, then it's hard to get back into it. We all love sports, and they have their place too. But our bodies will not always be able to compete with that high level of attainment. But musically, there are so many musicians that perform well into their 80s or 90s even. We do work with our bodies, so there are changes, and sometimes we can adjust. But sports things, you don't see a lot of that. I guess we see more of it than we used to see, but it's interesting. I'm a singer, a soprano, and I get a lot of drama queen comments from my family. But practicing helps my state of mind and my emotions. I notice that when I'm depressed about something, I'm not typically a depressed kind of person. My glass is usually half full. But when I do get worried about something or upset about something, I don't want to practice because it's not, I'm not in the mood to do it. But I got this performance coming up and I have to. So it's been a good discipline for me. But once I get to singing, 5 minutes into it, I've forgotten about that, and I feel so much better afterward. It's like a shot of adrenaline. Maybe not quite that strong, but it is. It's an elixir, and I love it. It is difficult to take the time to practice. I should say to make the time to practice, because there's never enough time in the day, and you have to do that if you're going to progress. There are limitations that you have. But how can you do better? I mean, how can you work your practice time in? I think one of the big things in practice, and I tell my students in the university, do not set out to practice for an hour at a time. Don't do that, because the first 15 minutes are going to be the best practice you do. So if you can break it up into, well, it depends on, as they gain, from freshman to sophomore, junior, then they can concentrate a little bit longer session for that. But at first, they need to stay little sessions several times a day. And that's what I ask them to do. I'm not sure that they're really good to follow through on that. But those are the best practice times you can do. And really, even at my stage, it's best for me to spend short times instead of long. But I love to practice. I can't say that I always love to practice, but I love to practice now. And making myself stick to 20 minutes if I haven't been singing for a while is really hard. I have to set a timer, or I'm gonna go on for an hour. I could go on for an hour and a half, but except my voice shows it. So I get tired, and I know vocally that's not good either. One of the good things, and your teachers probably tell you about this anyway, is fracture practice, is what I call it. Is that when you get to a place that is really hard, and you can't play through it, or you have to slow it down, whatever it is. So I ask my students, and we have vocal things like that, these leaps and whatever else they're doing, maybe the fast passage work. I make them, for singing, if they're singing a lot of 16th notes in a very quick tempo too, then I tell them, okay, let's do it this way. Learn the last beat. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, and you have to sing that, da-da-da-da, and you have to hold the last note as long as you can, as you need to. Da-da-da-da. Okay, then we go to the beat before that. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I say 20 times. 20 times. Which you could do like I did with my girls when they were taking piano. The rule was if mom heard them make a mistake, they had to go back and play that little bit 10 times correct. If they got to time 8 and they messed up, they had to start back at 1 again. They didn't like that. They did it, and it made a difference in their playing too. I don't know if you have any questions. I'd be glad to, or anything else you'd like me to address. I'd be glad to do that too. But that's pretty much all, until I sing. And I've got a serious song for you. I'd like to sing too, but the first one has a lot to do with my life story, me and my husband. And I hope, as the text says, that I've learned to walk humbly with my God. And the second, it's about a dog.
Stand there. Jess, you want to help me spin this around so I can see?
Oh, well, I can stand. Let me stand right here. I'm just gonna move so you could.
Well, you know, the video. Let's do the video so we can.
Okay.
We'll just turn this around right where it is. Face the other way, all the way around. This way. This way. Okay. Okay. You have the music books.
You might need those. And I turned the pages over. I'll just open them up here. This first one is a quote from Micah 6:6-8, a book in the Old Testament. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself?
so much for coming. And Bruce, can you go knock on the door there and see if we can rouse the folks out? Because I'd like to give them a little pause while they're coming. We are, again, really thankful.
There we go.
Really thankful that everyone could come. We want to do this, I think, every year if we can, and try to find times that everyone can come. And we're really, as a studio, really privileged to have, I think, you know, kids are great and it's fun and younger students, but there's a much deeper friendship that you have with adult students, and you guys are very special to us. And it takes a lot of dedication, as Pam said, to pick up the phone and call and schedule lessons, and that's kind of a little scary. And I know very well that there are times at home when the discouragement's kind of overwhelming, or it feels like, you know, I'm not making progress, or is this hopeless, or I'm not as good as I think I am. We know that those are there, and we're praying for you, and we're here to encourage you, and it's exciting for us to see progress and to see the journey that y'all are taking. So we're really thankful for that, and I think cook's coming out there, getting all. we should just storm the kitchen. There we go. Yes. Yes, this is my wife Danielle. I should introduce on the right with the red apron, and my sister-in-law Nicole.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, very good. Thank you so much.
And you're actually applauding 4 people because they're both expecting this coming October.
Oh, in October. Both of them.
My daughter's expecting in October.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
I might see her at the delivery room. So.
Never know.
So yes, and I should have introduced. I think we introduced Alex, but appreciate her coming tonight. And I should say this: many of our other teachers that really wanted to come. They're not here because they didn't want to come. They just to a person had out of town or a rehearsal or an obligation, and so anyway, so it's just one of those times of year. But they all would be here if they can and would if they could, and so I think we're done for the evening, and thank you again for coming, and we look forward to seeing y'all.
Very good. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you. And you're welcome to. No rush either if you want to hang around. So yeah.